Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Safransky, your host on a rather hot summer day. As you know, you can get in touch with me on Twitter at SkiBucks1. You can email us here, you can call here, you can meet with us, you can have us help you with your finances. We have people waiting to do that for you if you'd like to get your investments in order, or if you want to get your budget in order, or you'd like to know more about the market. You can email those, and if you have a question that you want answered on the podcast, you can send those questions to Kory, and her email is running below me, but it's Kory at epsf.com. Next year, in March of 26, we're going to do a mission trip to the jungle, and you can go if you want, or you could support it. And you may ask, well, if I give you money for the trip, how much of it actually goes to that trip? And I would tell you that 96% of it goes to the trip. There's the covering organization that we use to hold our money, because we don't hold the money, we use an organization to do that. So we have accountability. Accountability brings credibility, and we want credibility. They charge a fee to do that. And so about 96% of it goes there. And probably in all actuality, 100% goes after we throw in money and all that. So all of that money is going there. It doesn't pay for my plane tickets or anything like that. That comes out of my pocket. And if you want to go, you can go. We're going to take a little bit bigger of a group this time. We had a big group last time, about 15 or 17, and we're going to take an even bigger group this time. So next year, March 26, you got to get in touch with us, though, because there are some requirements that you have to fulfill to go. We're not just taking anybody. What if you're an axe murderer and we've got you in the middle of the jungle? We're all going to be dead. We don't want that to happen. Also, in really exciting news for me, I am excited about this. I got to admit, I am excited about this. I have a book coming out at the end of July called The Sin of Retirement. And Kory's going to put up the webpage, sinofretirement.com, and maybe even a QR code. Let's see if she'll throw in a QR code. I love throwing things at Kory that she's not expecting at all. That's going to come out at the end of July, but you could pre-order it now, and there's going to be some financial merch, maybe even a map of Armandoville, not sure yet. We're going to do a book launch, and I'm excited about the book launch. When that happens, I'll let you know more. And The Sin of Retirement. Is retirement a sin? Well, if I told you, you wouldn't buy the book, and I think it's a good walkthrough. I want to teach you how to retire right. I want to teach you how to retire with mission, calling, and purpose. So that's what the book is about. You're not going to spend all summer reading it. It's a little bit, it's a good read. It's a quick read. I have some personal stories in there that some of you may be familiar with. Some of them I've never shared, but first in this book. So, and for those of you who like pictures in books, there's no pictures, so you're going to have to read. Okay, let's talk about what's happened since we last spoke. When I last spoke to you guys, we talked about the possibility that either Israel or the United States was going to bomb Iran's nuclear sites, and of course we did that. And it turns out that the best diplomat we have is a 30,000-pound bomb, because once we used that, we didn't tell anybody, but I think Iran came to the table why the bombs were in the air. We flew some planes west, we flew some planes east, and then we flew some planes to Iran, like 37-hour round trip, refuel in the air. You know, I go to Hawaii not infrequently for work. That's a long flight. I don't know what a B-2 looks like inside, but I'm sure it's not as comfortable as what I'm flying in first class. And that's a long flight. So that's a lot to go through. There's only 2 pilots in those planes. So a couple of schools of thought on what happened in Iran. One, and the one that I kind of subscribe to, is that we were completely successful. That the facilities were completely decimated and destroyed. They cannot refine any more uranium. The centrifuges are broken. Actually, the Israelis cut the power to the centrifuges, and that broke them. And that was about a week before we bombed it. But just in case we're wrong, we threw some bunker busters there too. And really, they came to the table because they were running out of stuff to shoot, and they knew the end was near. And so that is the theory that I mainly subscribe to, because I am aware, and this is how the intelligence community is going to kind of work backwards on this to do an assessment. Now, there's probably people on the ground that the Israelis have and that we have that we're paying. I'll get into that in a little bit, how that's even possible. But I think they're completely destroyed. And I don't think that they can build a bomb right now. Version number 2, or theory number 2, is that we were mostly successful and that they knew we would be eventually totally successful. So they threw in the towel with the hopes of that they could maintain some of that material and maybe build a bomb, because these people are not to be trusted. The Iranian people are totally different than the mullahs and the IRGC, which is the army that really works for the mullahs and the theocratic governing body. Those are totally different people. The Iranian people, before, when the Shah of Iran was there, the Iranian people looked a lot like America in a lot of ways. People were cosmopolitan and they dressed normally and everything, and then the theocracy came in and that all changed. And now you have religious police that walk around and beat people with sticks if women show their hair. Now, you may say, well, that's horrible. Well, that's their business, none of my business. So if that's what they want, but the people of Iran now probably have an opportunity to overthrow. We'll see what they do. I'm sure that our CIA is in there right now trying to find the people that are going to overthrow, or putting them in there, or they're already in there. But that's theory number 2, that they threw in the towel and hoping for the best. Theory number 3 is the facilities are gone, the uranium to get moved, and they hope whoever is spying on behalf of Israel and the United States is found out and they get neutralized, we'll use a euphemism there, and they can maintain the material, the fissile material, which is, by the way, this fissile material is extremely heavy and difficult to move. So did they move it? Do they have OSHA there where they care if you're getting radiation poisoning while No, they don't care. The mullahs do not care. They will sacrifice you and everybody that you know right in front of your face to get what they want. So those are the 3 theories that I think that the intelligence community is working on right now. I maintain that it's theory number 1, that they were destroyed and that most, if not all, the fissile material is gone, and it didn't even affect the markets. Why didn't it affect the markets? Well, I told you it wouldn't affect the markets that much, because when things happen over there, when Israel does things that we're not involved with, or we do things with a bomb that don't involve troops, the market overlooks those things. That's way over there. That's not here. And if you remember, there was a time where Hezbollah and the PLO were blowing up Israeli buses. And these people, there would be like 70 people on a bus, kids, women, normal, just people. And that would happen with monotonous regularity. It never affected our markets. Terrorism over there does not affect our markets. Also, the bombings over there, the war over there, does not affect our markets. We continue on with commerce. So the fact that we use the best Diplomat we have, a 30,000-pound bomb, we use it very, we use like 14 of them, but we use them extremely targeted and sparingly so as not to affect the Iranian populace, but more of the Iranian leadership, while the Israelis were taking out the Iranian leadership in the form of military leaders, political leaders. I think they did take out some political leaders, but I'll have to check on that. So, and I think that's why it didn't affect our markets. In fact, oil prices went down, stocks up. We're going to hit an all-time high on the market here today. Most likely, the market closes in a couple hours. So this was an incredible success. And you look at this and you say, well, why was this so successful? We've been talking about this since George Bush was president. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we let them build these facilities, we let them do this, we let them get within days, we let them get within weeks. And finally, it took Donald Trump to say, you know what, let's just not let them do it. There is a bravery here. I don't know why they didn't do it before. The Obama administration sent Iran $8 billion of cash on pallets That's how we negotiated. Donald Trump negotiates with 30,000-pound bombs. I like this. This is what I voted for. And when you look at this versus, let's say, Iraq, and why Iraq was such an intelligence failure is because in Iraq, again, this is my theory, having had some military experience and following these things acutely, and I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm saying these are just the facts. During Bill Clinton, we cut back on a lot of human intelligence. So we just use signal intelligence. We're listening to phone calls. We're doing that stuff. Iraqi generals are telling Saddam Hussein over the phone, don't come here. It's too dangerous, but we have nuclear weapons. We have chemical weapons. So we believe that they have that. Why were they telling them that? Because they were just spiriting out the money. They were getting rich taking, he's putting in literally hundreds of millions of dollars to research, development, and execution of nuclear and bioweapons. There never were any. Why? Because the generals were taking the money and then sending it to Swiss bank accounts. We know that happened. We fell for it. The French fell for it. The British fell for it. We went to war on it. So how do we avoid that? How do we avoid that here? Well, we avoid it by doing what we just did. We don't amass, the 100,000 soldiers on the border and walk in there and pray that they hand us flowers, because that's not going to happen. We let the Iranian people execute regime change. We're not going to do it. We don't need to do it. It's never worked out. All we do is we send hundreds of thousands of our soldiers over there with trillions of our dollars, and they come back in body bags and missing limbs for people who don't even want us there. It's true, we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. I think they would use it, or at least export the people who would use it. So we did the right thing. We avoided the massive intelligence failures of the past. We avoided the massive expense of the past. And I like this. This is what we wanted. We finally have a president with the chutzpah to do this. And he did it. I like it. So, in other news, in economic news, and that is economic news, by the way. Not getting blown up with a nuclear weapon is economic news. So, and we owe the Israelis, we owe the Jews a debt of gratitude. They are doing for the world what the world was afraid to do. These guys are so brave. It is just astounding to me what they've done for us in the world. And, the French are going to moan and groan and be the biggest pansies in the world. Let them do it. In the back, behind closed doors, they're probably thanking the president. Same thing with the Germans and everybody else. They're thanking the president right now and thanking the Israelis. We owe them a debt of gratitude. Well, Chair Powell, or as I call him, Chair Fowl, left the rates unchanged, citing again the uncertainty over tariffs as inflation comes down and the economy slows. He's going to cut this year. Actually, Chair Fowl is what I would call an economic disgrace right now, because so there are three arguments and they all can't be true. And he's making all three. So the argument when President Biden was in office and inflation was skyrocketing and they didn't raise rates into it and they said it was transitory, okay? That's argument number one. We know they were wrong. But he still will say that. He will still defend his position. And then right before the election, he cut rates 50 basis points, cut it in December again, and then stopped. I guess that solved the problem. And now he won't cut rates when the market is clamoring. The market is saying, and even he says they're still restrictive when they don't need to be. So he's saying, well, it wasn't appropriate to raise rates into obviously rising inflation. Do you remember when eggs were $6.50 a dozen? Do you remember that? Well, it was just a year ago. And then right before the election, right before a presidential election, the month before a presidential election, he cut rates 50 basis points. One more time in December, and they stopped. Problem solved. And now he won't cut rates in the face of obviously falling inflation. Those three arguments cannot be true. They cannot be true. One of them can be true, but not all three. He needs to be fired. He should have been fired. They're not going to fire the Fed chairman because it would rock economic markets, financial markets. It would. There's no doubt that it would. And all indications are that the Fed is way too restrictive. So this is what I see happening. I do see two rate cuts. There's a July 9th is the 90-day expiration of tariffs. I think that Trump will probably extend for another 90 days, citing the fact that there is developing trade deals in the works, which is true. There are some sticking points, like, for instance, Japan. Japan is balking at tariffs on cars because some of their companies do not build their cars here. They build them in Japan and they send them here, like Honda. Toyota builds a lot of cars here. Hyundai, which is South Korean, they build a lot of cars here in Alabama. Honda does build some cars here, but most of them are not built here. So Japan is balking at that. Well, they're going to pay. If they want to sell cars here, they're going to pay, or they're going to work with us on tariffs. Now, I don't like tariffs. I really don't like tariffs. And I like free market. In fact, on the other side of me, behind the camera, is a sign that says, in a world where you could be anything, be a free market capitalist. Usually it says, in a world where you could be anything, be kind. But I think free market capitalism is the kindest thing that you could be, because it gives people a chance to succeed. It gives people a chance to do better, to raise their standard of living. Capitalism has dragged more people out of poverty than any other system. In fact, communism and socialism are so good that they have to be enforced by laws and rules and regulations. They have to be forced on people. Socialism isn't a system that is for the people. It's a system that's enforced on people, where capitalism allows everybody a fairly equal chance. Is it 100% equal? No, it's not. If you're born into money, you have a better chance. There's no doubt. But some of the greatest stories in capitalism are people that came from nothing. And that's happening today as we speak. So this is what Chair Powell is kind of screwing up right now. And what's going to happen is, I think he's going to cut twice this year, and that the markets are going to take off into the end of the year. A lot of the trade talk is over. The war is going to end in Iran. It's already in a ceasefire. We'll see if it sticks or not. It's probably tenuous at best. But if it does, that's a good thing for everybody. And I think we run higher into the end of the year following rate cuts. Trump is going to name Kevin Warsh as the successor Fed chairman, and he's going to do it early to put pressure on Chair Powell. Don't forget, my book is coming out at the end of July. You can buy it now. You can pre-order it. We'll send it to you. I promise we will. It's in final editing. We have the cover. I wrote the dedication. I wrote the preface. They made it sound better. Whatever. I kind of write like I talk. So there's a lot of run-ons. I don't know if you've ever noticed that I can get off on a tangent and forget where I was going sometimes, but it does happen. I am David Safransky, a real American, a true red-blooded gun-owning patriot, and the voice you can trust.